Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to review the Revel Concerta2 M16 bookshelf speaker. I have them in white on my left and right and black on the screen behind me. I've owned these for about 3 years, so I figured it's time we talked about them. They're 900 bucks a pair, and I have them on the matching stands, which are another 300 bucks. If that sounds like a lot, and it kind of is for stands, just know the stands are of fairly high quality. So I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about the specs because nothing really stood out to me, nor that I think it was worth mentioning. But at the top we have an aluminum tweeter with a phase plug. Down low is an aluminum mid-bass driver, and around the rear we have a fairly large port. So I'm going to take you through the sound signature. I'm going to draw some comparisons to the Focal Cora 806, that's about the same price, and the cheaper ELAC DBR62. I'll give you some room setup advice at the end, and then we'll wrap it up. So the top end is going to be on the forward side of neutral. It's going to be bright, it's going to be sharp. It's not going to project into the room a whole lot, nor is it going to have a whole lot of air to it. It is going to give you a lot of detail, however, and it will give you air if you're willing to dig into the volume knob. If you're not willing to dig into the volume knob, they're just not going to be the airiest sound. The Focal Cora 806 have way more air at low volumes, as do the ELAC DBR62s, but the DBR62s like some volume as well. Moving on to the mid-range. The mid-range is going to be fairly flat. Nothing really is boosted. Nothing is really recessed. The ELAC DBR62 is going to be a little bit more textured in the mid-range. The Focal Cora 806 is going to have a little bit more, like a better vocal performance in the mid-range. These just kind of had nothing going on in the mid-range, honestly, and I think part of that is because the entire performance kind of takes place on a flat two-dimensional plane just off the front baffle of the speaker. There's not a whole lot of depth to the soundstage. There is a ton of width, just depth is missing. But much like the air in the top end, if you're willing to dig into the volume knob and go over 85 decibels, things do change. That soundstage depth starts to come back, that mid-range starts to pop out a little bit, the vocalist presentation is a little bit more articulate and open and projects forward. These are not a low volume champion. They need volume, they need power to get going and sound their best. Let's move on to the mid-bass. The mid-bass is going to have that boost we kind of see. Generally, it's going to give it a grounded sound and a full sound. The lower bass frequencies are also very plentiful. From top to bottom, the speaker does actually sound very, very full. I did a lot of my listening without a subwoofer, which is rare for me. And just from top to bottom, it just the sense of scale, the fullness, it was just absolutely there. And I would say a subwoofer is optional for these speakers. Now, the bass isn't going to be the tightest like the ELAC DBR62. It's not going to be the quickest. It's not going to be the most articulate either, but the quantity is there and it is fun. From top to bottom, what we've got going on here is a speaker that on the top end is going to be bright, sharp, and detailed. From the mid-range down, it's going to be on the warm side, and you need to give it volume for it to sound its best. If you're sensitive to listening fatigue and sharpness and you don't like your music too loud, these probably aren't for you. Personally, I like to listen for 1 to 2 hours at a time. With these, I can only do about 25 to 30 minutes before throwing in the towel because that sharpness was a little bit too much for me. The brightness was a little bit too much for me. And I felt like I was missing the air constantly. So I kept turning them up. But then when I got to the point where the air and the soundstage depth were finally coming alive, I was at like 87 dB, which is way too loud for me. I like to listen generally around 75, 78 dB. With maybe 80, 85 peaks, you know what I mean? Like that's it. So anyways, let's move on to kind of like room setup because these are fussy speakers, guys. You're not just going to throw them on the stands and plug them in and press play. They're really, really picky, like how far they are from the rear wall, the side wall, toe in, toe out, and all that kind of stuff. And I've had these in 4 different rooms throughout the years, and what I found to be really important is to have some kind of acoustical room treatment in, at minimum, the first reflection points. Now, is that going to vary from room to room? Maybe. In the 4 rooms I tried it in, though, it made a pretty big difference. Now, one may argue all speakers would benefit from room treatment. Sure. But this was more like they were kind of unlistenable, in my opinion, without the room treatment in the first reflection points. That fatigue that usually was setting in around the 30-minute mark, without sound panels in the first reflection points, I was feeling fatigue around 10 or 15 minutes even. And it's not even because they're so bright, because they're not like the brightest speaker. The presentation is sharp, but with all the extra echoes coming off the wall, it was just like, honestly, it's just fatiguing is the best word I can use to describe it, mentally and physically. So, if you like your music loud, you know, if you like it bright, if you like it fun, if you like it detailed, these are probably going to be up your alley. If you like to listen at lower volumes and like to still have all those like dynamics and that sparkle, the Focal Cora 806 is a great alternative. So based on this review, you're probably feeling like these weren't for me, and you're absolutely right. I don't like these a whole lot, except for home theater. When I have them upstairs in my living room and I'm using them for home theater, holy crap, totally different story. These are great for home theater. They're phenomenal. They were so enjoyable when watching like TV and movies that I kind of believe that Harman designed these for home theater. And then the whole like music aspect of them is just like an afterthought. So if you're looking to build a home theater setup, that's going to be say like 70% for like movies and TV and maybe like 20 or 30% for music, give these a look. I think people in that camp are really going to like these. Or if it's just for like 2-channel music, people that really like it loud, you're not scared to rock out, piss off the neighbors and stuff like that, you know, check these out. Again, the Focal Cora 806 are more for me with their like lower volume performance, a little bit more refined top end. You have air at low volumes with those. That's the kind of stuff I like. But again, I use these actually mostly upstairs for TV duty, and for that, they're fantastic. I don't have much else to say about these speakers, guys, so if you have any questions, let's rap about it in the comments below, and until next time, later.